Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to my official NFL week number 4 picks and predictions, where I go through and predict the final score of every single NFL game. Beginning with Thursday night, it is the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 1-2, taking on the Giants, who beat the Browns on the road. Daniel Jones threw a bunch of screen passes. They won that game. I'll tell you what, Malik Nabers is the real deal. He is going to be a number one receiver in the NFL. He probably already is. Dallas is minus 4.5. They're given a 57% chance to win this game. I still think Dallas is way better than the New York Giants, even with Nabers emerging. The Cowboys this year, they had a great week 1 performance. Week 2 and week 3, 2 home games. They really struggled against the Saints and then kind of got blown out against the Ravens. They came back with like 19 fourth quarter points to make it close. Dallas has way too good of a defense to be playing this bad. They're going to go on the road. I think that Daniel Jones game in Cleveland was a total aberration. He's not going to continue that. Dallas gets it done. They cover the 4.5 point spread on the road on Thursday night. Moving on to the 1 o'clock window, it is the New Orleans Saints traveling to Atlanta. Atlanta coming off that Sunday night loss. They've had back-to-back primetime games, Monday night game and then Sunday night game. They are sitting at 1-2. I mean, thank God they beat the Eagles. Thank God Saquon Barkley dropped that pass, or they'd be 0-3. That Kirk Cousins, they do have a decent offense. They will be taking on the Saints. The Saints sitting at 2-1. Really struggled on offense last week after having 2 amazing offensive performances. Atlanta sitting -2. New Orleans, the slight favorite in terms of the analytics. Atlanta's at home. I like them to win this game 24-16 and cover that 2-point spread. These are 2 relatively evenly matched teams. You could even argue Atlanta on offense, maybe slightly more talented. New Orleans, those first 2 games, we knew they weren't going to be able to keep that up. Week 3, they came back down to earth. The Eagles beat them and covered on the road. And I do think Atlanta at home in this situation is able to win and cover in that one. Next, we do have the Rams traveling to Chicago. So the Rams, West Coast to East Coast, playing in a 1 o'clock window. They are sitting 3-point underdogs. You can see the analytics have this game basically at a tie. Chicago's given a 49.9% chance to win. You do have LA at like 49.1, and then there's like a 1% chance of a tie. But you do have Caleb Williams. I thought he looked good. It was garbage time, but he did throw for like 350 yards last week. He does have that ability, even early in his career as a rookie, to, even if it is garbage time, I mean, it is encouraging because Chicago is not used to QBs throwing for over 300 yards. So I do like that. When it comes to the Rams, they were almost on like tank watch. I mean, they were 0-2 and they were down 14-0 against the 49ers. They come back and shock them and win that game. They got outgained like crazy, but they still won it. I do think in this scenario, the Bears end up winning this game 23-13, covering that 3-point spread. Caleb Williams is able to build on his performance last week, and they win this game. And the Rams, I still think they probably only win 4 or 5 games. They potentially get a top pick and draft their future quarterback. You could argue Matt Stafford still has something left in the tank, but depending on how bad they are this year, I guess we'll have to see how injured they are with, their top 2 receivers, and maybe they'll both be coming back. But either way, another thing to look at in this game, we'll see if Chicago can get their run game going along with potentially their defense. They were supposed to have a good defense this year. They're going to have that home environment. We'll see. I think they win this game and cover that 3-point spread. Next, we do have the Packers taking on the Vikings. The Vikings sitting at 3-0. Sam Darnold, what a breakout this is. Potential early season MVP candidate. I don't think he's going to keep it up, but still, it's pretty crazy. With J.J. McCarthy going down in the preseason, they are 3-0. They do have a boatload of weapons. I mean, they've got really good receivers. Justin Jefferson, obviously. They will be taking on the Packers. The Packers, from what I heard about Jordan Love, it looks like he's probably going to play. He was limited last week. He was questionable. They wanted to be cautious early in the season, so he sat out. This week, early on in practice, I think he's been limited, but I do expect him to play. They're sitting at 2-1. They're 2.5-point favorites, and I do think the Packers in Lambeau win this game and cover the spread. At some point, the Vikings are going to have to come back down to earth. I think this is probably the week as long as Jordan Love plays, although Malik Willis has shown that he can lead that offense. So I will take the Packers to win this game and cover the 2.5-point spread there. Next, we do have the Steelers sitting at 3-0, traveling to take on the Indianapolis Colts. Well, Anthony Richardson, it's almost like the clock is ticking. I mean, he has not looked good. It is early. He is a raw quarterback. He was injured a lot of last year, but he did not look good last week at all. They are 1-2. The Steelers, this Steelers team reminds me of another Steelers team back in maybe was it like 2018, 2019? It might have been like Big Ben's final years, and we knew they really weren't that good, but they started the season 11-0. This year, Justin Fields, he's getting the job done. Obviously, Russell Wilson's not going to get his job back when Justin Fields is 3-0, and it's kind of hard to go against Pittsburgh. It just feels like that defense against Anthony Richardson, they're going to do enough. Justin Fields not turning the ball over, the dual threat ability, he can throw it well enough. He can certainly run it, and Pittsburgh goes on the road. It was just a really bad performance last week by Anthony Richardson. I didn't see encouraging signs to point to where they're going to be able to beat this Steelers team. The Steelers are going to play a number of close games, but this is a situation where you're facing a QB. They're going to get at least 2 or 3 turnovers. Let's be honest. They win this game. They're able to cover that 2-point spread. The line originally opened -1.5. It's been bet up in favor of Pittsburgh. Next, we do have the Jets hosting the Denver Broncos in a 1 o'clock affair. You do have the Jets coming off a very impressive 24-3 victory on Thursday night against the Patriots. The Broncos had their own nice win on the road against the Buccaneers. Bo Nix, very nice performance. The Jets sitting -7 in this one. I think the Jets are a really good football team. They win this game easily, point blank period, 23-10. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson. The offense is good enough. The defense, especially hosting Denver traveling, to that 1 o'clock window, it's going to be hard. And Denver last week, I think Bo Nix, I guess, could be a decent quarterback in the NFL, but he was downright horrible in both week 1 and week 2. And now you're traveling on the road against an elite defense. It's going to be very hard. Give me the Jets to win this game and to cover that 7-point spread. Next, we do have Philadelphia traveling to Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay last week, horrible performance. This week, they get another home game. You do have the Eagles coming off a nice road win in the Superdome at New Orleans. They're sitting at 2-1. Philadelphia, 2.5-point favorites in this game. I think Philadelphia continues to roll. They've got a really good offense. They're going to score a lot of points, 30-20. Jalen Hurts, maybe 3 passing touchdowns in this one. They've got Saquon, obviously. They win this game against the Bucs team that really kind of let me down last week against a rookie QB and struggled. Baker Mayfield, not his best performance. This is a game where I think the Eagles are just way more talented. They win, and they cover the 2.5-point spread. Next, we do have the Bengals traveling to take on the Carolina Panthers. So yes, the Bengals are sitting at 0-3. Joe Burrow did have a nice garbage time performance against the Commanders. Crazy loss at home for them. They were 0-2 and they lose to the Commanders. But they are 5-point favorites against the Carolina team that's a little bit rejuvenated with Andy Dalton. I do think in this one, give me the Panthers to cover that 5-point spread. I don't know. I can't trust Cincinnati, 5-point road favorites against a team that's a little bit rejuvenated with a veteran QB. Carolina's going to come out. They're going to be more motivated this week after the big win on the road at Vegas last week. The Bengals cannot lose this game. I mean, obviously they're 0-3. This is, clearly must-win territory against a bad team. They get the win, but I don't think they cover the 5 points in that one. Next, we do have Houston hosting the Jaguars. The Jaguars sitting at 0-3 themselves. Houston coming off a bad loss to the Vikings, sitting at 2-1. And this will be interesting to see what happens with the Jaguars. I mean, imagine they fall to 0-4, 0-5. You do have technically your franchise QB, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he just got a major contract extension, major deal. And, what's happening with them? They're 0-3 right now, and I don't think they're going to win this game. A little bit higher scoring. Houston breaks out after the horrible performance on the road. In Minnesota, CJ Stroud, 3 passing touchdowns. They win this game 34-24, and they cover the 6-point spread. Moving on to the 4 o'clock window, it is the Commanders traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals sitting -3.5. The Commanders coming off that breakout performance. I mean, they are 2-1 right now. It is pretty crazy. They're 2-1. The Cardinals are 1-2. But in my opinion, the Cardinals are the better football team. They win this game 30-23, and they cover that spread. Jaden Daniels did look good on Monday night. You do have the Cardinals with Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray. They will bounce back after the home loss to Detroit. They'll win this game, and I do think they will cover that annoying 3.5-point spread. You would like to get that number around 3 or 2.5, but I still think they end up covering that one. Another 4:05 game, it is the New England Patriots traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. Back in 2016, 2017, this would be a guaranteed primetime game with the good 49ers. Well, I guess the 49ers weren't good then. Maybe back in 2014, I'd say. Yeah, back in 2014. But you do have San Francisco sitting minus 10.5. So this line has ballooned. It's not surprising. Both of these teams are 1-2, but it's very clear that the 49ers are 100 times better than the Patriots. The Patriots just lost 24-3 with Jacoby Brissett. We will see what they do this week at quarterback. This game is not going to be close. I think San Francisco wins it very easily. It's going to be hard for the Patriots to score again. They just lost by 21, and I think it's a similar margin here. San Francisco covers that big spread. They're coming off a game in which they led the Rams by 2 touchdowns. They're going to be pissed, but I don't know. I mean, what happened to Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey might be done for the year, but it is just a running back. I mean, he's going to have a big impact, but still, San Francisco, it's not like they can't still blow teams out. We saw what happened in week 1 against the Jets. They'll win this game. They'll win it easily, coming off that brutal road loss. The 4:25 games, you do have Las Vegas sitting -1, taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, really bad home performance against the Giants. You lose that game. I mean, the Giants just threw a bunch of screen passes, a few passes to Malik Neighbors, and Deshaun Watson, I mean, his average yards per attempt is so horrible. It's truly astounding. Taking on the Raiders coming off that brutal loss to the Carolina Panthers. I think the Browns get it done on the road. Both of these teams are very unpredictable. Give me the Browns, though, to win as very slight underdogs, outright 26-23 in that one. The other 4:25 game, it is the Chiefs traveling to take on the Chargers. The Chargers 7.5-point underdogs. Taylor Heineke possibly going to be starting this game. Justin Herbert. I'll be honest, the Chargers offense, even with Herbert, has not looked good, but it looks like he's injured and he's not going to be playing. When it comes to backup QBs in the NFL, it's impossible to trust them. I will take the Chiefs to win this game, but possibly a backdoor cover. Taylor Heineke's a veteran. He can move the ball a little bit with J.K. Dobbins. I'll take Kansas City to win. 7.5 maybe is a little bit steep against a Jim Harbaugh team that is at home and has a decent enough defense. They win this game 23-16. Moving on to the Sunday night game, it is the Bills traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are sitting -2.5 in this game. Kind of an interesting scenario. You do have a 1-2 team that is favorites over a 3-0 team, although it does make sense. Buffalo, however, though, looks amazing right now. I mean, Josh Allen, he does look like the league MVP. They are 2.5-point underdogs. The way they're playing, it seems like amazing value. So I do think they cover the 2.5-point spread. I'll take Baltimore to win it outright. It's going to be very close, but it wouldn't surprise me if Buffalo did win. I like the value on them. In terms of the analytics, they've got Buffalo a 57% chance to win this game. You do have the Ravens, who did look very good against Dallas. They basically blew out the Cowboys. The Cowboys scored a bunch of garbage time points, but I do think the Bills end up winning that one there. Moving on to the Monday night games, once again, another Monday night doubleheader. I feel like this game already happened last year. Didn't the Titans play the Dolphins in a Monday night game last year with Will Levis? I feel like that happened. I don't know. They're doing it again. It is Tennessee sitting -1. What a horrible game this is. Just a terrible quarterback matchup. Now it looks like Skylar Thompson is injured. He's not going to be playing. Will Levis has looked horrible. I think Tennessee at some point is going to have to win a game, though. I will take the Titans just due to the horrible quarterback situation for the Dolphins to win this game 23-17, and they will cover that 1-point spread. And then the 8:15 game, it is the 3-0 Seattle Seahawks traveling to Ford Field to take on the Lions. Detroit is sitting -4 in this one. And I do think Detroit is going to win this game 27-17 and cover that 4-point spread. Seattle's had a nice year, but going on the road, I mean, let's be honest, this team's not going to win 13 games. They're going to lose at some point. I think they lose to Detroit on the road, with Detroit covering that 4-point spread, winning this game 27-17. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.